Hello and welcome to this edition of Up on Toppenish. I'm your host, Sean Davido, and today I'm joined by Paul Newman. Paul is the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, executive director, and then the dual role is technically manager of the visitor center.
Right.
Which is, most people know what a visitor center does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk. First, I want to talk just a little bit about you. You've been around the community quite a while. Tell me about you and your past and history.
Well, let's start out by saying hi, Toppenish in Lower Valley, at however far-reaching we are, which is never far enough.
It's worldwide now.
Yeah,
it's
worldwide.
www.
Sean Davido Toppenish. Yeah. So as Sean mentioned, I'm Paul Newman. I grew up here in Toppenish. For some odd reason, my mother had a doctor in Sunnyside, and probably that few days, one day, whatever it was back in 1963 that you spent in a hospital, that was the only time in growing up that I didn't live in Toppenish. Grew up just north of the junior high school, which is now the middle school, next to what was the Baptist church at the time. Went through the Toppenish public school system, graduate 1981, class of 81. I was a class speaker, not a valedictorian, as most of you know that know me, is that requires intelligence and high grade points and stuff, and that wasn't me, but I had a high enough grade point average, and went to auctioneer school. Out of that was where my career choices had some bookkeeping and accounting background, not a CPA, but lower level type stuff for the early 80s, and went into the cattle raising deal with an uncle. My grandparents and uncle lived outside of Granger in a couple locations, and that's where my livestock background came in. And coming back from auctioneer school, doing little auctions like I do around the valley, took a position as the office manager and bookkeeper for the livestock auction. By same name, a little different ownership at the time, but Toppenish Livestock, great community supporter, by the way. John Topp and his team. John Topp's world-class auctioneer, but they do a lot for Toppenish. A lot of people don't realize, not just Western-oriented stuff, but they do a lot of community things and charitable donations. But took the office job with the hope of getting into the livestock auction. Did a little bit for them, did horse sales, did et cetera, but then stumbled into a different career and left. But the part of me that stayed in Toppenish all along was the auction side of things. First broke into that with Jim Flint of the old Toppenish Review, Flint's, in the early days for me, but with the chamber, as I was part of the Toppenish Chamber's first live auction fundraising, and I think I've been pretty much their only auctioneer over the years, and that's what brought me back to the Chamber Visitor Centers after 30 years in the true fruit industry. They had some opportunities and changes, and not that I had a hospitality background, but my familiarity with Toppenish, the community, and interactivity and stuff, and the ability to take it on as a part-time role for budgetary reasons. I mean, it's a time and a half type for things that need to get done sometimes, but budgetary-wise, like so many things, the MVTV, et cetera, budget's a big issue, and but took over that role, and it's like if memory serves me, I think we're coming into the 8th year that I've been involved with the chamber at this level. Wow. In Toppenish. And
we got to go back to the auctioneer. I just want a little bit. Say I was trying to buy a steer.
But yeah, I went to school. It was a emulsion type course for a couple weeks in Kansas City. It was in the old stock exchange building right next to what was the old big livestock right downtown, or you could see downtown Kansas City, Missouri. We were right on the Missouri River. You could see Kansas City, Kansas, and you spent 2 weeks there going through classes, sold a little bit of livestock. Auction is in place of yard sales and things like that is a big deal in the Midwest, or it was. And so there were quite a number of times they took students out that we knew little enough, but give us a little sell time so they could better work with us. And they basically just get you started, and then they come back and say, do it. I've heard people that have never sold before that sound like they were, a prodigy to it. And then I've heard people that have been in it for 40 years, and you're like, maybe you should find something new to volunteer at. But that's okay. It's because pretty much most of what I do for our valley, which is less and less all the time, just by personal choices. But I have been compensated at times for different ones, but it's a donation thing. It's a volunteer. It's a skill set I believe that I have that can make a difference for an organization.
Absolutely.
And, yeah.
I've heard you a few times. It's a wonderful skill.
Yeah, well, it's different. Yeah, it's definitely, economically it doesn't, unless you're lucky enough to be like a John Top or a few of those people. And I didn't realize that business dynamic and model would change. I may never have left it had I realized that it would change to what it was. Not that it would have been as economically gratifying as the tree fruit industry was for me, but it would have been a lot more fun.
Well, let's talk about Toppenish. Speaking of fun, let's talk about Toppenish. So we've got some events coming up. I know as we're recording this, the Junior Livestock Show is coming up. Tell us just a little bit about that and what that means to Toppenish.
Well, the Junior Livestock Show's in its 76th year at this current location for, I think, 30-some or 40. They used to hold it over at the livestock auction. And then at the fairgrounds had a fire, etc. But Saturday and Sunday, the exhibitors, which is youth, 4-H and FFA exhibitors, their families will start moving in RVs and the such, and then they bring the animals in on Saturday and Sunday, and they'll have, I believe, the adult or parent fitting and showing on Sunday is when the events kick off, and then all day Monday and all day Tuesday they'll have different showing events. It's free. It's to the general public. You can go down, take your kids, and look at the 3 classifications of animals. They do hogs, they do sheep, and they do steers. They've had few entities try to push for other animals, but it's a big enough show. Typically, they've kept it to the 3. And then on Wednesday will be the stock show. And what they do is they judge on a couple different things. They judge the animal for conformation and different things as far as raising it for consumption.
Right.
And then the kids have supposed to have broken the animal to lead and handle, and there's certain judging elements that go with that. And ribbons, trophies, and premiums are awarded. And then on Wednesday we have the livestock auction that starts at 9. Down there and runs through the middle of the afternoon, but it's a way for the kids to raise money for future school, etc. And it's an opportunity for people to go down and support the kids, support the show, and then fill their freezer if they would like to at times. We sell a lot of hogs that go right back to people's freezers. We'll have a couple custom killers that are available that can cut and wrap and take care of it. That's another aspect to just mention. I know it'll be here and gone probably before a lot of people, but it's an opportunity, these youth stock shows, to get a premium fed animal at it may be a little bit or equivalent to what you'd pay at the store level, but you can get that farm raised, fresh raised and handled animal and get it butchered and cut and wrapped into your freezer, and not typically have to wait like you would if you're feeding it at home or buying it field, because these custom cut and wrapper guys are busy. As far as the show itself and the economic impact to Toppenish, unfortunately that's a hard measure for us in any events, because most of them are 2, 3, sometimes 4 days, but the type of retail environment we have. But it is a huge part of Toppenish as far as what it generates economy, whether it's somebody going to Dad's and buying a hamburger, Dairy Queen or McDonald's, going over to Crafts or one of the other clothing outlets and purchasing a shirt or jeans because they ripped or didn't pack right for the show. Right. And those type of things. And those are kind of what we look for as far as economic impact is how. And I mean, there will be some additional tax type revenue that's generated, but as consumers we don't see it necessarily.
Most of these, it's mostly children, right? Mostly
yes.
kids. Small kids. I've went out last year, and a couple years in the past. Kids, and to watch them and the work that they put in, and the care that they have for these animals, and it's just a tremendous amount of work from little kids to high school age kids, FFA, 4-H.
Yeah, right? and typically the real little kids up until upper junior high, early high school will be 4-H. That's just, and then if they can stay in 4-H right through being a senior in high school, if that's what they choose, or they can go into FFA. and FFA contributes a lot of other things. Typically on the really little kids, like you mentioned, more often than not, if you researched it, they're second, third, and greater generation that are involved because the parents have instilled that. Not necessarily that they always live on a farm. It doesn't mean they're second, third, fourth generation farmer. It's just that their parents raised animals or showed or were involved in a club, and so they really help push on it. I'm guessing it's probably upwards to 50% of them are multi-generation.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that has changed a little bit over the years from it used to be more of the farm kids that lived on the farm to more, like you say, that their parents have, that much has changed over the years.
I think it has, yeah, because in our area, for example, farming has changed.
Yes,
we get in the Midwest or where they still have huge farms, relative that it's maybe not so much, but FFA is the best example of a few conversations I've had with instructors or advisors. That dynamic has changed. In the days of old, they'd bring a tractor in from Joe's farm, and they might dismantle it and remanttle it. But now it's more of a canned education. Not bad.
It was,
but it.
I learned to drive a tractor in FFA.
And you know what? And
all the parts of a cow.
And I think they still do a certain amount of that. But and as far as FFA, one of the things too that helps define that is, the original lettering or acronym was for Future Farmers of America. Well, they basically have dropped any emphasis on that. I'm sure in their charter and bylaws it still references, but it's FFA. It's 3 letters now, and they just don't really dwell because of the metropolitan dynamic and how that is. They don't want to scare off kids that don't have a farm background.
Let's talk about businesses.
Yes.
We want to talk about businesses in Toppenish. I know there's some activity downtown. We've got a new Thai restaurant that's opened up.
New Thai restaurant. It's my understanding. I have not met the proprietors yet, but it's in the location where we had one years ago, so that's confusing to people. But I have had some reviews from consumers and said it is really good Thai food. It's over across from the kitty corner, across from the railroad depot museum.
In the old Review building?
In the old Review building, a little market right next to it, a little Latino-style market. And then around the corner is a very, very, and I can't think of the name, but a very, very popular, been there a long time, meat market as well. It's very, I've heard good things about that. And you can go in and get a lot of prepared or sauteed marinated meats, and then you can get some good traditional. A lot of it would be cuts that tie in with the Hispanic community. But great little business.
Absolutely. I know the Thai restaurant. I've been there 2 or 3 times.
I've heard
already.
great things.
It's really good. I, from my own perspective, best in the valley.
See, and that's good to hear because
check it out.
I'm not a Thai food. I don't know enough about it. Curry, anything spicy, and some of that scares me off.
I'm the same way, but this is I really enjoy it.
So we'd say you folks need to get out there and try it.
Absolutely, go check it out. Papa Nana Thai restaurant. So, let's talk about some of the other activities. We skipped around from the livestock show. We have parades. We have Christmas parades.
Just kind of in a quick summary is the first 2 things to look for as a community. First part of May, just a week or 2 away, the American Hop Museum opens for the season, runs through spring and summer to late summer. The American Hop Museum is the only hop museum in the United States. Started by Tom Sauvé, or the dream was started and pushed by Tom Sauvé, a grower supply. Another huge community supporter is he's over there across the tracks from the train museum. Grower Supply is, and he and Grower Supply do a lot of community support as well. But also, first part of May is the Northern Pacific Railway Museum opens for the season. Both great things to do for people just right off the go, especially if you're a train enthusiast or you're a hop person, if you're into microbrews and different things. But it's still interesting for the kids. They have a lot of farming information and hop museum, hop things. I encourage people to look up in the Guinness Book of Records. Toppenish was listed for years before we had internet. I don't know currently, but as the largest contiguous acreage of hops grown in the world.
Really?
Was John I. Haas company is, I think, now, but their big operation south and outside of town was it for years.
Hopsteiner also is.
Yeah, and Hopsteiner, yeah. But then as far as the next event is the first part of June, we hit Yakima Nation Treaty Days.
Right.
Typically, you can always remember, I believe the treaty was on the 9th of June, so it will hover 3 or 4 days around there. They typically will have an all-Indian rodeo out at White Swan at the rodeo grounds out there. They'll hold a few events at the Cultural Center. Have I don't believe Speely Maya is part of this, but they'll have crafts and tribal type things, and runs a few days. But a great rodeo in itself. And then
they also have a parade.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. They have a parade out at the Cultural Center, and it is a great parade, well attended, and there must be tens of thousands of dollars worth of candy thrown out.
It was the longest parade last year. I covered all of the local parades, and it was.
I'm very envious of being involved with our Toppenish parade, and we're slowly making some inroads. But they definitely the Yakima Nation members, along with non-tribal folks, are very supportive. Yeah, great event.
Great event.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And also our rodeo and parade.
Yeah, our big weekend falls the 5th and 6th of July this year. You always want to remember that we're the first Saturday of July, so it's going to move, as opposed to a lot of people still refer to it as the Toppenish 4th of July parade, parade and rodeo. But a few years ago, the rodeo, Toppenish Livestock and Rodeo Association, got their PRCA sanction back, which just in a nutshell to the non-rodeo folks means that the points and money that contestants win go towards the national finals. So we, since they've done that, we've had some big names. For me, Trevor Brazil, which was kind of the for quite a number of years, and in the record book still is kind of the George Strait of rodeo. I mean, in rodeo world, he was the all-around big-time money winner. Through the valley, he was in Toppenish, and then his brother-in-law, who's currently because Trevor's not. Those are a couple big names, but a lot of regional big names. Great set of rodeo. For us on the parade side, you'd mentioned the chamber sponsors and manages the Toppenish Wild West Parade. We kind of throw in, but on the morning of the 6th, Saturday the 6th, is it'll go through the heart of downtown. We kick out of the rodeo grounds at 11 and runs for about an hour. If we can get people to separate well enough to drag it out. In the morning of the 6th, the Lions Club will sponsor the cowboy breakfast, the pancake and egg and sausage breakfast over at Post Office Park.
Yeah, I went there last year.
Yeah.
Such good.
Yeah, it's a great.
Good and fast and.
Good and fast, and you know the Lions Club of Toppenish. That's another one. Most people will see them at the few breakfasts they do. They'll see them if they went outside at the ranch party. They cook the steaks for us at the ranch party. Quite a number of events. The Easter egg hunt they do. All the flags that go out. I can't encourage our businesses and even individuals. For $25 a year, I think it is you can have a flag put out on the primary national flag holidays. Yeah. So it's like 10, I think it's 10 or 11, 8, 9, 10 times a year. Right. But we try to encourage as many businesses, and that's one of the few fundraisers that the Lions actually do. Otherwise, when they're cooking steak somewhere, the breakfast they do charge. I don't know if it's up to 8 or 9. It might still be 7 and change. But it's well worth it. I mean, it's every bit of a grand slam,
and
big
a good
breakfast.
Cause.
Good cause, and
they do so much.
They do, and then they sponsor kids, local kids, Toppenish kids, at certain things at times, and support some of the sporting events that in different organizations that don't have the resources they feel they have. At the end of the year, beginning year they pretty much start with a zero balance, and at the end of the year it's a zero balance. They don't carry any numbers. They keep it given down, and always, like Rotary, they're always open to membership. They meet first and third Tuesdays they meet at the Eagles, and just since I mentioned rodeo, they're every Tuesday out at the golf course. Another great organization that you don't hear or see a lot about, but they're behind the scenes doing things in Toppenish. Yeah. So. And as far as we do have a car show kind of come and go that O'Reilly Auto Parts has sponsored. I have not heard for sure if they are doing that, and then we do have a couple golf events that are fundraisers, Rotary and the such, but they typically have people on waiting lists because they sell out what they need to for that.
I've noticed. I've driven by the golf course just a few times on the last weekends. It is golf season. There are a lot of people.
It is golf season, and that's another great hidden kind of gem of Toppenish that unless you're by there is Rick Cullen's been their greenskeeper for 150 years, and he's got that as in good a shape. They're as good a set of greens as you'd ever want to play. It's just golf is in a funny cycle right now, and that if you're golfing a lot, there'd still be no place that you could become a member if you golf frequent and make sense of it. Just their walk-on fees are very competitive, but it's a great golf course for sure.
And I'm not a big golfer, but one of the few courses I have played is one that. And it's nice. It's a good, friendly course. You can go out with your buddies and just have a good time out there.
Well, and on that, and this isn't Toppenish, but there's still community, neighboring community, is Granger and the Little Dino golf course is great little miniature golf course and great little iron course. It's a 9 with the tee blocks positioned. You could play 18 and have it a different game, and if you're not a long hitter, you do have a couple holes you can hit fairway woods. Otherwise, great 9-hole course as well. That he does a great job with it. But
absolutely. So. Also, holiday parade, right? Is there anything between the
lighted parade? I tried to put the disclaimer with you before we sat down that I've been so busy. That's my fault. But I didn't get myself as prepared. But we do have our lighted parade. But I'm trying to think. The Lions Club and the Railroad Museum will do the Train to Nowhere first part of September. Coincides usually the weekend with the Harrow Fall Festival, which is they're both after Labor Day, a week I think. We do the lighted parade, which has grown. We had probably our best year last year, relatively speaking. We're the first of the season right out of the gate. The Saturday after Thanksgiving is some people. It's an awkward weekend because they'll want to leave town and the such for Thanksgiving, but it's a lot more businesses. We've always had a lot of people. If you stay home, a lot of people come out for quick. You've had great coverage. I do encourage.
Well attended the last couple
with
years,
downtown, we'll
really
have a packed little downtown,
and
with the increased entries. I think we were as competitive as any other. Sunnyside, of course, has the grandfather of the valley, and it'd be years before anybody competes with the size of theirs as far as entries. But I'm proud to say we've gained. Pacific Power sponsored that for us the last few years, and I'm hoping this year. Back to parades and sponsorship, I definitely want to thank Legends Casino Hotel for sponsoring the summer parade again. We try to offer water and make sure we have banners and support a few of the things that support us, and then trophies. But Legends Casino Hotel does an awful lot for our community.
And I know Ideal Feed and Lumber also does some.
Ideal Feed and Lumber. I mean, they're at least third generation. They are in the process of Eric, Carrie, and Linda and Dave have they're selling. Their ownership. I think I'm not too certain if Linda might still be involved, but I think they're all going to take retirement. They're all at an age. I have not met the new owners, but my understanding is they are as community oriented and supportive. But back to the Eric and Carrie and Linda and Dave portion, as they've huge contributors to a lot of different things, not just in items for fundraisers, but they write a lot of checks, and for that we can't say thank you enough to,
In my dealing, they put the trailer for us to
they do our platform for you, and our announcer last year was Blaine Thorrington, and for a lot of years in the past we've had Lauren Belton is kind of that deep radio voice of Toppenish that does a lot for us. So.
Absolutely. One thing that we missed, ranch party.
Yeah, the ranch party in there. Yeah, we're like in the 102nd or 3rd year, I guess. It like me, it's like we're getting old enough forgetful. But yeah, I think this coming year will be 103rd, maybe annual ranch party. For all intents, it'll be at the middle school again, and we can't emphasize early enough that please consider any nominations. We have a Lifetime Achievement Award. We do Man of the Year, Woman of the Year, Spirit of Toppenish, which was the old volunteer award, Retail Service Person, and then Farmer or Ag Person of the Year. And you know what? And don't overthink those categories. If you can say, well, this makes sense, that this person, the bottom line is how do they connect to Toppenish?
Right.
And the immediate surrounding area, and that can mean a lot of different things.
And also well attended. It is so
well attended. We've grown that up. The last few years, it's funny. That's one of those events coming back from the virus that people were ready to get out, and we've had for all intents a sellout crowd the last couple of years.
Lions Club does the steaks.
Lion Club does the steak. Washington Beef, back to steaks.
Provides,
we can't thank Washington Beef. They're one of those businesses that, what we think we know about them sometimes can be through our nose or secondhand, and that's not always very positive. But Washington Beef, they're very rarely say no to donating meat to organizations.
Several events, and it's always Washington Beef, and at the end you end up auctioning off.
And that was at the ranch party. Is that made the difference of offsetting hard costs to saying, thank you, Washington Beef, for helping us make a difference on a few packages of uncooked steaks. But yeah, Nick Troy, their representative, he physically does a lot of things and he's on the board at the Junior Livestock Show. He'll be down there announcing animals next week. His wife, Christy Troy, she manages the Miss Toppenish, another organization that I can't emphasize to people. If you haven't heard something you like that you would like to give money back to Toppenish, they're always open to donations. We can channel them through the chamber. They put together a float last year and had hard costs for that. But Christy and Nick will, Nick gets roped into having to go because he's married to Christy, but they're kind of our ambassadors to Toppenish to other communities, because
and those girls are everywhere.
They are
on Instagram. I see they're at all the events.
Great marketing and promotions for all things Toppenish, and I can't thank Christy and the young ladies enough for what they do. And since I've been involved, not just this 8 years, but over the years, they've the advisors, especially Christy and Nick, instill a certain amount of professionalism in the girls, because they'll help us at fundraisers. The rodeo auction, for example, big fundraiser for the rodeo that's in December. Isn't it December? Yeah. The girls will help us at that.
They're at the ranch party also?
They'll help at the ranch party selling 50-50 tickets or centerpiece raffle tickets, and they handle themselves very professionally.
National Night Out, I've seen.
National Night Out, yeah. If it's something Toppenish, they'll have them. They'll have the float, or the girls will be out at the. Well, they'll be at our parade for sure in the entry, but they'll be out at the Treaty Days.
Granger,
Zilla. They'll hit the Yakima Parade. They'll hit Sela, Sunnyside, Prosser, Grandview, Mapton. They make an effort, and it's a fun little thing that the royalty miss groups do is they'll reciprocate. So there's some value in that, and because that's we can't have a parade if we don't have entries.
Right.
And so then we try to give out trophies and some awards and some Dad's and McDonald's gift certificates. I don't mention the only reason we don't Dairy Queen is I've got to check this year to see if they changed. They typically don't do gift certificates. Otherwise, I try to include all three as our fast food eateries. But we do have a lot of great places to eat in Toppenish if you don't want just fast food.
I know Dairy Queen just did a remodel.
They did a remodel, and we're a couple years into some new ownership. Steve and Mary Miller retired. Their parents, when I was a little boy, their parents ran it. I can vaguely remember Steve growing up and getting stuck on weekends and nights there, and they they retired, and the new owner's doing a nice job and did a bunch of remodel, and they've got some really good Dairy Queen type food as well. So
all your cool treats, right?
yeah, all your cool treats. I mean, the reader on the sign is, if I can think back far enough, it's if you haven't tried our blizzards yet, it's
right.
like somebody needs to get them one of those little suction cups and put something new up there.
Yeah. We need to talk about murals. One of the biggest attractions in Toppenish, right? I know they're doing some work. They do restoration.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff is going on, and they've got QR codes. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, the murals are kind of our big tourist attraction. The museums, which I neglected to mention, the Yakima Cultural Museum.
Oh, yes.
Out at the Winter Lodge location at the Cultural Center, and it's open year round, and they do have a gift shop as well. And I do encourage people. All three of our museums do have a fee to enter. It's not a huge amount, but that, if you ever have people in town and you want a fun, quick little cultural type visit, if they're not into trains or hops, that's a fun one. It's a nice, comfortable museum to visit. But back to the murals. We're at, I believe, 80 restoration, touch-up. We have lost a couple. We're possibly going to lose a couple more because they're beyond repair. We did add a few the last couple years. Don Brown was the sole artist, but Paul Campbell and his siblings that grew up across the street there, and their parents started the Campbell's Market, Bob and I want to say Eunice, but I'm drawing a blank for certain Mrs. Campbell's name. But the family donated the funds to commission those 3 new murals that are on the side of Blue Sky Market, which was the Campbell's grocery when I was growing up. A couple names before Mike and Janet bought it. It's now part of the Mercado Guadalajara family of stores, all 2 of them, which Freddie and his mom, I think, are doing a good job.
It's our local chain.
Yeah, it's our local chain. Yeah, so we got Blue Sky and their other banner, Guadalajara, Mercado Guadalajara. But yeah, you know what? We're open to, we lost a dear friend this last year, Mike Chandler, in an accident. Mike and I went to high school together. He was a year behind me, really good friend. He had the dream of adding a mural there at the general store right on First Avenue, and the family knew that, and so what they did is they requested anybody that wanted to make a memory donation or going to the Mural Society, and right now I think we're probably halfway with some commitments beyond that to maybe getting a mural. There's no dates and nothing. He's got a subject matter that Mike dreamt of that hopefully will be a part of it. It had to do with his grandparents and the fuel distributorship back in the days of horse-drawn when vehicles were just coming in and there were both. Yeah,
right?
there's the funny dynamic of his logo was a multiple team of horses pulling a horse-drawn fuel tanker, which is peculiar, but you figure that petroleum was coming in before vehicles were as abundant as they are now. So hopefully we'll
get the fuel somehow.
Yeah, to get it somehow until the trucks were out there. But hopefully we'll see something start to materialize information-wise. But otherwise, it's in the new vitalized 501c3 Mural Society that we have. A great group of people, and along with their lead artistic person, Karen Cook was her maiden name, grew up here at Toppenish, Wasilius now. Karen is the primary in a lot of the touch-up and recovery and fix on our murals, and I believe they have a couple new interns.
Right.
And when I say interns, they're not green to artistry, they're green to the murals and green to Toppenish,
and it's specialty of restoring murals.
Hopefully we can get them elevated to the degree where Karen, I think her and Wayne are, they're well into some retirement years, but I think some days they think they wish they could do a little more running around. Yeah. They've not said anything. I mean, they're great supporters of Toppenish. Karen's dad was a counselor out at the high school for years, and her mother an enrolled Yakima Indian that. And good people, but
4th generation. I had a conversation with her. Okay. She was restoring the mural across from Pioneer Park, and we had a conversation
of it. Yeah,
we talked about
and I didn't realize Fourth. I didn't know her great
generation.
grandparents. I had the good fortune. I went to school, and her dad was a counselor out at the high school. He and I talked a lot, but from an auctioneering thing, because we didn't have the internet and didn't have computers at that level. They had computers at larger corporate levels, but he helped me research the auction school thing, Everett Cook, and then her mother through fundraising, even after they retired, very supportive in a lot of things in Toppenish. But yeah,
I want to talk about the AutoCast app just real quick.
Yeah,
That's one thing. I mean, it is huge.
Yeah.
If you're coming to Toppenish, check out the AutoCast app. It's available on your phone. I'll throw up a little video that you can check out.
Yeah, please.
That's the way to find the murals, get a little information on them. If you're going to do a Toppenish mural tour, be sure to...
You know, and the encouragement to tell people, you know, when it comes to apps in your phone, and it's a free app, and it doesn't really take a lot of memory. Our problem is your phone won't even notice it, or your computer. But one of the positive dynamics of to encourage you to do it is there are other communities that utilize AutoCast, that you could get a feel for other things. That you could go see all over the country, and then I believe that if your phone has a QR code reader, I believe that the QR codes will be established at the murals.
They're working on it, and they were getting them printed. They're in Spanish. I know they've got the Spanish.
Yeah, and that was one of the big encouragements to try to try to broaden the horizons of our audience, and you know. Culturally and socially and demographically, things change, and that's one of the elements community-wise, trying to engage our community of Toppenish as things change, trying to engage where that change is. And one of the elements I've constantly encouraged, it's not physically in the works, but soon in the future, is people don't recognize that on the murals, the subject matter needs to pertain to the people of Toppenish and fall between 1840 and 1940, give or take a little bit. Well, the Mexican people didn't really start coming to the Yakima Valley until World War II or pre-World War II. And so there's that funny cutoff. I've had the question, why don't we see more Mexican, Latino, or Hispanic people on our murals? Well, we did have a very comprehensive one that we lost at the Farm Workers Clinic. And under the previous Farm Workers Administration, they funded putting a near replica, but their administrator at the time kind of changed the dynamic. And the one you see on the corner of what I believe is the Vision building for the Farm Workers Clinic isn't quite as comprehensive as the original that was on the back of the old CNR building that they utilized, but it's still one of our few representations of the Mexican people, and that's because of that date. And so I'm really trying to encourage, and I say this so the word gets out there, trying to encourage the Mural Society. Let's get that pushed, and since we're not growing murals, it's not as critical, but pushed into the 60s or even early 70s to where we can get some more representation of the Mexican, now Latino, Hispanic people.
And the farm worker population and the
because there's so many things in that 20-year time frame that plays out, and you know, as our business model has changed downtown, as 40 years ago we've always had a couple Hispanic and a couple Native businesses, but you go into downtown Toppenish now, and the Hispanic business owner, good people, but the dynamics change. We've got a great bakery. The matter of fact, I just stopped the other day over by the old Liberty Event Center, Liberty Theater, that I mean, you go in there and that rivals any bakery you'd ever want to see. It's themed more to the Mexican or Hispanic type pastries, but great. It's, I besides some sweets, I bought I don't know the technical name, but it's that bread that they cook the cream cheese and jalapeno peppers in. My goodness, it's like it's addicting.
I walked by just the other day.
Addicting.
Oh.
Yeah, and great business. Well, that's just a change that's going on, and we're trying to engage more and more of that business element, even at the chamber side of things, trying to get more involved. I don't want to see that we have to say, well, we're not in a position where as a chamber we can afford to have two chambers, but we need to get more of our Hispanic people involved, because there's things I don't there's a business model. There can be liberal business or conservative business. You can have religious oriented business. Well, there's cultural business differences that it would be nice to have a few of the Hispanic folks involved, till we could say, you know what, I better understand. Let's try to focus on that. Let's work towards that.
Absolutely.
And
we've talked a lot.
Yeah.
So what have we not talked about? I don't want to leave anything out. We've talked about
well,
so
let's
much.
say, one of the questions that constantly comes up by interviewers or like you is the old Cheech and Chong question is, who cut my hair? And I throw that in because, I like to utilize when I send out emails and stuff, I like to reference all things Toppenish, and that's all encompassing. But our taglines that we've had, which I think the city's kind of thinking about reinventing, but it's been, Toppenish, the where the West still lives.
Yes.
And that goes back to trying to do the Western theme, which you still see at times in number of our properties. But the city of murals and museums. I try to emphasize that because given our size, being at or slightly under 10,000 people, to be able to boast that we have these murals is phenomenal.
Absolutely.
I get phone calls, now with the Revitalized Mural Society, I forward them to Janet or to Karen or to So. But for years, I'd get calls as we've got questions, because when we search it, Toppenish comes up on people's radar as the city of murals.
Right.
So we answer questions, try to help out, because it's it's not competition. It's just a neat addition to any community. As far as the museums, to have 3 museums, to have the American Hot Museum, the Rail and Steam Museum, and the Yakima Nation Cultural Museum, to have 3 museums like that for our size in itself is quite the dynamic. But I laugh at times and say, well, we could put a comma in the city of murals, museums, and barbershops.
Right.
Is, if you haven't really noticed, pay attention when you drive around downtown Toppenish in a multi-block radius, and we probably have more hairstylists and hair places, barbers and the such per capita, I'm almost betting, than any community in the Pacific Northwest.
I just got my haircut done yesterday.
It's like,
I call them the rock and roll barbers. It's Ricky right across from Post Office Park.
Yeah.
Great guys.
Yeah,
I was
they
just
are.
in there yesterday
They are,
interview,
and before I started doing this, I went to the ladies crossed from the other side of the post office. I went to the Legends, the 2 sisters, and and Slicks has bounced around.
Yeah.
Lefties, the owners of Lefties, and they do a multitude of things. Sharon McClavey over there behind Dad's is Sharon's folks.
And they've been there for years.
For years, when the farm workers bought the old CNR strip mall area, they I think Nadine and Sharon moved over behind Dad's and put that in, and which she was our she won an award at the ranch party last year. Well deserved, long overdue. Sharon did, but I believe her son is in. But yeah, you start going around, it's like, oh, here's a hair place. Or, oh, there's one. And I say that, and I joke because it's a cute thing to chuckle about.
Do you buy a lot of product?
Yeah, anti-shine. I used to get Armor All, but it's like,
Buffer? No, I'm just kidding.
I go back through a lot of hats, It's like, hi. I got to get something to get the shine off it. But for years people said I needed to add a little shine, but then I figured out it was my personality that didn't shine enough, not my head.
It's a good look, believe me. If I were to shave this off,
I like it. It's not necessarily any more time consuming, because I do keep it. I keep it touched up every morning, and between that and a person's face, it's not like but man, it's been nice, but I'm also older now, so it's like I've borderline never cared about certain things. I thought on my appearance, but apparently now I don't care at all.
Well, I appreciate your time. We have talked about so much today. A little teasing, but it's all good.
Well, fortunately, and like you said, we're not live. We will appear live here to some people, but you can edit out an awful lot. But Toppenish it was a great place to grow up. It's still a lot of things, change is inevitable. And anything we do as any living organism, period, whether it be a plant, a cell, an animal, a human. Change is inevitable. And they say that if you don't like change, you need to be a part of making that change. And another thing we lack in Toppenish and many other communities are volunteers. Is everything that gets done requires people. And I don't know of any organization, there might be some, but there's very few that can say I have a waiting list. And that's something we really, really need. But Toppenish is still going in a lot of neat directions. Like you said, a few new businesses. We lost a few this last year through retirement and change and close a business. But it's just a matter. You referenced Monty Heggie with Colonial Funeral Home. He, a few years back, he got the idea to do pet cremations. And my wife was still in the vet business, and being friends with Monty and Paige, we were able to help him make connections that he's kind of turned into the premier animal crematorium. Just last year, he expanded and put a people. He's always offered the service, but he dealt it out with a neighboring organization. But now he does it on site, and then he bought a property a couple years ago that he's in the process of converting into kind of a little social type club.
That's right by the Liberty Theater.
It's on South First, kind of in between the Liberty Theater and Galez.
Right.
And I'm drawing a blank on the other little restaurant there, but in that block.
You'll see the work if you're looking.
Yeah, and it's going to be an eatery and have libations. Just a kind of a fun little pleasant place. We're kind of hurting for something like that. We do have the Eagles Club. Eagles does a lot for the community. The Eagles it's not a difficult criteria for membership. It's not an expensive membership. It's one of the few places, if you're into social libations, one of the few places in the community that you can go and have yourself some adult beverages.
Some good music and
some
good
music,
dancing,
good dancing. We hold a lot of events there. They've got a little event portion in the back. They've got a full kitchen. They offer food now as well, and been revitalized. But Monty's business, and I thought I understood he's going to call it Monty's Place. I suppose when we walk in, he'll be sitting down on one end of the bar, and everybody will holler, "Monty!" For those of you that are old enough to have enjoyed Cheers.
Yes.
So there's constant fun stuff going on, exciting stuff. But again, it's change, and change is inevitable. So.
I want to thank you. We need to make sure we thank you for all that you do, just for coming here and talking about all of this. And knowing Toppenish and your commitment to Toppenish. I want to make sure that we thank you, because without people like you, we wouldn't be able to get the message out there.
And on my closing note, I just say, whether it be my role, which I don't have a set date, but it's in the not so distant future. It's time for me to, at least as the visitor center and chamber role. It'd be a perfect world. We had a greater budget. I'd be fishing for what we did in years past and find a little different but experienced person to come in. But volunteers and the such, what, if you want to get re-involved, I told somebody just this morning, ask me a question, I can give you the answer on anything. But the two most common answers will be, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. That's the key, I'll find a place for you if you want to volunteer. It could be, if you're interested in stuff like this, you probably have an intern program here. The swimming pool is very dependent on their concession stand to offset some costs, and they use a lot of swim club kids, but they also need help. I mean, all different levels.
Katie Goodell, our
Katie Goodell has
a volunteer program in the works, and
she's created a number of activities for kids. It's a slippery slope in respect, and adults, and it creates opportunities for the community. But unfortunately for her, it also creates a need for more volunteers. And one we didn't mention that we can't think enough is. The Farm Workers Clinic's commitment to the Safe Haven.
Safe Haven, yes.
Over there is the after school and weekend youth type programs that they do.
I know they're doing something with our fire department coming up, fire safety to get more education out for the community. Huge opportunity. And that's right over by the swimming pool.
Yeah, it's in that big church facility in the Triangle. I believe the Mormons had that property for a number of years. And fortunately, the farm workers,
I know they do citizenship things, all kinds of services. For
well, and on that note, another little hidden funny thing we have in the community is Yakima Valley College has that property past Dad's towards Prestige Nursing Home, which is a bilingual educational, but to help people get their GED and learn some basic language and things they need for conversation. It's not, it's YVC operated program, but it's one of those things. A lot of their students and participants are all different ages. It's more of that community need type thing. May not always affect you and I directly, but indirectly it brings a lot to the community.
We've talked so much. Even more things that we haven't brought up. School district, Heritage University, all of the assets that
I'm probably out of gas too because I left the car running.
Oh boy, yeah, we should probably
no.
Okay, I appreciate all the things that you do.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sean Davido. Toppenish appreciates what you do. We just need to get the word out there. And your element, not AutoCast, but
the Cablecast.
Cablecast, thank you. That's
it
another
is also
one.
Available on
that's
on
another
your
one
phone.
we need to emphasize too. That if you don't get cable access television, you can through Cablecast, another free app that doesn't take any, and it will also highlight other communities. I think that it registers where you are when you bring it up, and it says there you go. But that's a way that we can watch all our parades, all our events, speakers like us that you loop on there, plus community.
City government.
City government,
City council meetings for Wapato, Granger, and Toppenish. So if you want to be involved and be in the know, definitely.
Absolutely. And a few years ago, some of the best entertainment was Wapato City Council. So
there have been some interesting meetings for all of our.
Yeah, they do get that way if you watch enough of it, for sure.
Yeah. We've got some really good. A group of elected officials in all of our cities. So, all right. Thank you very much, Paul.
We'll see you.
All right. Thank you.